Hey there, friends. Today we're diving into The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, the latest adventure in the iconic Nintendo franchise. Developed by Grezzo in collaboration with Nintendo, this game marks the first time Princess Zelda takes center stage as the main playable character in a core Zelda title. Echoes of Wisdom blends the top-down perspective of classic Zelda games with some modern gameplay elements introduced in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. In this video, I'll cover the backstory, the plot, and what it all means. So, when you are ready, grab a cookie and hot chocolate, sit back, and let's explore this new chapter in Hyrule's history. Let's begin with the twisty timeline of The Legend of Zelda to see where this newest title fits in. The Legend of Zelda universe is set in the magical land of Hyrule, a realm created by three golden goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Faroer. These divine beings shaped the world, established order, and breathed life into it before departing. Din is credited with creating the physical geography of Hyrule. Nehru's role was to establish the physical laws that would govern the land. Faroer was responsible for creating the various races that would inhabit Hyrule, as well as the flora and fauna of the world. After completing their tasks of creation, the three goddesses departed for the heavens. However, they did not leave the world empty-handed. As a parting gift, they left behind three golden triangles containing their power. These triangles formed the Triforce, a sacred relic that would go on to play a central role in many of the conflicts and adventures throughout the Legend of Zelda series. The Triforce was left to govern all things in the realm of Hyrule, serving as a physical manifestation of the goddess's power and wisdom. The earliest known era in Hyrule's history is the Time of the Sky. In this period, the goddess Hylia protected the Triforce from an evil force known as Demise. To safeguard her people, she sent a portion of the land and its inhabitants skyward, creating a floating civilization above the clouds. Thousands of years later, the events of Skyward Sword take place. This game introduces the first incarnations of Link and Zelda, establishing the cycle of reincarnation that would persist throughout the series. Link defeats Demise, but the Demon King curses Link and Zelda's descendants to an eternal cycle of conflict with his reincarnated hatred. The era following Skyward Sword sees the founding of Hyrule Kingdom on the surface world. This period is marked by prosperity but also conflict, as various races and factions fight for control of the sacred Triforce. Generations later, the events of Ocarina of Time occur. This game is pivotal in the Zelda chronology, as it creates a split in the timeline. When Link is sent back in time at the end of his adventure, three distinct timelines are created. One where Link is defeated, one where he succeeds as a child, and one where he succeeds as an adult. The timeline where Link is defeated leads to the events of A Link to the Past, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Link's Awakening, and the original The Legend of Zelda games. In this dark timeline, Ganon obtains the complete Triforce and rules Hyrule for a time before being sealed away. The Child Timeline branch, where Link warns of Ganondorf's treachery as a child, leads to Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Four Swords adventures. This timeline sees Ganondorf defeated before he can seize power, but other threats emerge to challenge Hyrule. The Adult Timeline, where Link leaves Hyrule after defeating Ganon as an adult, results in the Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. In this timeline, Hyrule is eventually flooded to seal away Ganon, leading to a world dominated by vast oceans. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are set tens of thousands of years after the other games, in a period that seemingly converges all timelines. These games depict a technologically advanced Hyrule that fell to calamity and is slowly rebuilding. And this brings us to Echoes of Wisdom. Now, there isn't an official explanation of where this newest title fits in as far as I know. One theory places it in the Fallen Hero timeline, likely after A Link Between Worlds but before the original Legend of Zelda. This is supported by the game's map layout and aesthetic similarities to A Link to the Past, the presence of a Ganon form reminiscent of older 2D Zelda games, and the inclusion of races like the Zora in their fish-like form. Another theory suggests it belongs in the Child Timeline, possibly after Four Swords adventures, due to the presence of certain enemies like Darknuts and the game's portrayal of a relatively prosperous Hyrule. Some fans also propose that Echoes of Wisdom, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, exists in its own separate continuity. This theory is based on the game's inclusion of elements from various timeline branches alongside more traditional Hyrule races. The game's unique gameplay mechanics, particularly Zelda's ability to create echoes, also set it apart from established timeline conventions. Let's next talk about our protagonist. In Echoes of Wisdom, players take on the role of Princess Zelda herself, marking the first time she's the primary playable character in a mainline game. This isn't your typical damsel in distress situation. Zelda's got her own adventure to embark on, and she's bringing a whole new set of skills to the table. Despite finally taking center stage, it seems Princess Zelda has caught Link's legendary case of silent protagonist syndrome. Perhaps heroic muteness is a prerequisite for saving Hyrule after all. Zelda, as depicted in this game, is the Princess of Hyrule and a descendant of the goddess Hylia. She's imbued with divine power and wisdom passed down through generations. This incarnation of Zelda seems to be a separate individual from the one in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, continuing the series' tradition of featuring different versions of the character across its timeline. Unlike previous games where Zelda's magical abilities were often hinted at but rarely shown in action, Echoes of Wisdom puts her mystical powers front and center. Her primary tool is the Tri-Rod, a magical staff that allows her to create echoes, which are copies of objects and creatures she encounters in the world. While Zelda doesn't typically engage in direct combat, she does have access to a sword fighter form. This transformation allows her to temporarily channel Link's abilities, wielding a sword and shield for a limited time. It's a nod to the series' traditional gameplay while still emphasizing Zelda's unique approach to problem solving. In addition to creating echoes, Zelda can use an ability called Bind, which allows her to manipulate objects and creatures in the world. This power seems to be an evolution of the magnetic abilities seen in previous Zelda games, giving her new ways to interact with the environment and solve puzzles. Interestingly, Princess Zelda as the main playable character in a mainline Zelda game wasn't always the plan. The developers initially intended for Link to be the protagonist as usual. But they ran into a little problem. Link's traditional sword and shield didn't mesh well with the new Echo gameplay mechanic they wanted to focus on. As a developer explains, if you have a sword and a shield, you can just fight using those. There's no need to rely on the monster's power. They realized that to fully showcase the Echo abilities, they needed a protagonist who didn't rely on typical weapons. This led them to choose Princess Zelda as the main protagonist. Her magical abilities made her the perfect fit for wielding the Tri-Rod. The title, Echoes of Wisdom, reflects both this gameplay mechanic and Zelda's role as the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom. The developers put a lot of thought into why Zelda would leave the castle on an adventure, eventually settling on mysterious rifts threatening Hyrule as her motivation. By centering the gameplay and story around Zelda's strengths, they've created an experience that finally does justice to the series' namesake. Alright, let's now cover the story of Echoes of Wisdom. Get ready for rifts, imposters, and a princess who's about to show everyone why you don't mess with Hyrule. Our adventure begins with a dramatic prologue. We see Link, cleverly disguised, battling through a dungeon. His target is a menacing blue monster holding Zelda captive in a crystal prison. With dramatic flair, Link reveals his true identity and engages in a fierce battle to save the princess. Link emerges victorious, but victory is short-lived. A rift suddenly appears, threatening to swallow our hero. In a split-second decision, he fires an arrow at Zelda's crystal prison, cracking it just before the rift pulls him in. Zelda, now able to break free, finds herself surprised by her own strength as she punches her way out. As the rift rapidly expands, Zelda is forced to flee, marking the beginning of her unexpected journey. The story truly kicks off with Princess Zelda's dramatic return to Hyrule Castle after her mysterious disappearance. As Zelda recounts her harrowing experience to her father, the king, she shares the story of her daring rescue by a certain swordsman clad in green who was swallowed by a rift. And there's another problem. Those pesky rifts are popping up everywhere, including right in the very throne room they're in. And just when we think things can't get any weirder, the plot takes a sharp turn. The king, along with Minister Left and General Right, suddenly become consumed by the rift that has overtaken the throne. However, they don't disappear like everyone else. They are spit back out with a little touch of possessed hiding behind their eyes. The new king accuses Zelda of creating the rifts herself. Before she can object, our bewildered princess finds herself locked up in the castle dungeon. It can't get worse, right? Well, if Zelda is believed to be the one creating these kidnapping rifts, then they would in theory only stop if she is sacrificed. But fear not. A tiny ghost lemon fishy named Tri comes to Zelda's rescue, gifting her the Tri-Rod, a magical staff that can create echoes of objects and creatures. It's like having a portable 3D copy machine, but way cooler and infinitely more useful for dungeon crawling. Oh, and just to make us look totally crazy, we're the only ones that can see our lemonfish friend. With the help of the ever-loyal Impa, Zelda makes a daring escape from the castle. Our Grandma Imp can lay down some soldiers. Disguised as a little Blue Riding Hood, our girl sets off to uncover the truth behind the rifts and save Hyrule from whatever nefarious plot is afoot. Armed with her new Tri-Rod, Zelda begins to collect a variety of echoes. From the fearsome decorative shrub to the mighty Hyrule Castle pot, she's building quite the arsenal of copycat objects and creatures. As we venture out into Hyrule Field, we encounter our first major rift. It's big, it's ominous, and it's definitely not something Zelda can tackle just yet. But our princess isn't one to back down from a challenge. She's just getting started. We follow Zelda to Soothorn Village, a usually quiet hamlet that's now in turmoil due to the appearance of a massive rift. The villagers are distraught, longing for the help of a certain young man named Link. Apparently, he's the go-to guy for everything from monster slaying to weed pulling. But wouldn't you know it, Link's conveniently gone. It's almost as if the universe wanted Zelda to be the hero this time. Maybe they'll accept Zelda since the villagers note the similarity between Zelda's cloak and Link's usual attire. As we explore Soothorn Village, we learn that one of the villagers has been trapped by the nearby rift. The surrounding forest is crawling with monsters, making rescue attempts nearly impossible. It's clear that Zelda's got her work cut out for her. As we approach the rift near Soothorn Village, Tri senses the presence of their friends trapped within. But these friends are immobilized, unable to mend the rift as they normally would. With determination in Zelda's heart and the Tri-Rod in hand, she enters the rift, transporting us to a strange new realm called the Still World. It's a bizarre place where fragments of Hyrule float in a void, frozen in time. Ultimately, Zelda's role in this adventure is to mend the rifts that are threatening Hyrule. It's a big job, but if anyone's up to the task, it's our resourceful princess. Tri reveals that they have many friends who usually work together to fix rifts quickly. But something is different this time. The rifts are persisting, and Tri's friends are trapped within the Still World. Our mission becomes clear. We need to venture into the Still World, find and free Tri's friends, and work together to mend the rifts before Hyrule falls apart at the seams. We learn about the grim fate that awaits those pulled into rifts. It's a ticking time bomb. The people inside petrify, unable to move, and eventually fade away. But our girl Zelda is special, immune to this petrification process. Everything we see in the Still World was sucked through the rifts, and as time passes, these people or items sucked in break apart and vanish forever. Time is ticking to save Tri's friends. During their time in the rift, we discover the real minister left as still as a statue. It confirms our suspicions that the king, minister left, and General Wright from the castle were imposters. Our duo presses on, getting closer to Tri's trapped friends. Along the way, Zelda learns a nifty new trick, the ability to move objects around using her Tri-Rod. It's like telekinesis, but with more waving and less mind-straining. As she delves deeper into this fragmented realm, Zelda continues to expand her Echo collection. She adds the creepy Strantula and the imposing Darknut to her collections. Suddenly, we encounter a mysterious figure who looks suspiciously like Link, but with an evil flair. Thankfully, Zelda and Tri see right through him and know he isn't our old-time bestie. After a tense confrontation, this doppelganger disappears, leaving behind a powerful sword with Link's name engraved on it. Zelda claims the weapon, which turns out to be the Sword of Might. This weapon gives Zelda a new look, and she becomes a sword fighter when it's raised up. As we continue our exploration, we learn more about the nature of the rifts and the creatures within them. Tri senses their friends very close by. But before we can find them, Seismic Talus bursts out and is ready to fight. After a successful battle with Boulder Boy, Zelda is rained on by a million little lemons, which are actually Tri's trapped friends. They were trapped inside of Seismic Talus and are now free. With that, we're able to mend the entire area swallowed by the rift with their help. Upon returning to the regular world, we meet Minister Left, who's surprised to see Zelda out and about. She's even more surprised when she realizes she can see Tri. It seems the rift changes things, or in this case, people, when they return from within. We go with Minister Left to our next stop, which is the home of Luburi, Impa's older brother and the creator of the Sword of Might. This eccentric inventor fills us in on some crucial information about Link, the rifts, and the particularly nasty blue monster that kidnapped Zelda. Blueberry created the Sword of Might specifically to save Zelda from danger. However, despite Link defeating the big bad blue monster, the rifts are still appearing. There's more to this mystery than meets the eye. Tri takes a quick aerial survey of Hyrule, spotting several large rifts that need our attention. Zelda's got her work cut out for her. Minister left, the worrywart tries to dissuade Zelda from entering more rifts. But come on, when has telling a video game protagonist not to do something ever worked? Zelda's on a mission, and no amount of ministerial hand-wringing is going to stop her. We learn that the next big rifts to tackle are located in the Gerudo Desert and Jabal Waters. It's time for Zelda to spread her wings and venture beyond the familiar forests of Hyrule. Before we set off on our grand adventure, though, Blueberry offers to upgrade the Sword of Might. After further research, he uses mysterious might crystals left behind by the rifts to give Zelda the best sword. How thoughtful. On our adventure, we encounter a villager who is stuck on top of a rock waiting to be rescued from the monsters below. This villager shares a bit of wisdom about not getting too absorbed in your work, but let's be real, saving Hyrule takes a lot of focus. As we approach the Gerudo Desert, we encounter some weary warriors battling an endless stream of monsters. They point us towards their town, hinting at a sanctum that's been swallowed by a rift. We reach the entrance to the Gerudo town, only to be turned away by a guard. Apparently, even world-saving princesses need proper authorization. But suddenly, a cry for help catches our attention. Rushing to the scene, our girl Zelda showcases her heroic prowess by defeating some monsters and saving a Gerudo warrior. Talk about making a good first impression. We're introduced to Dona, the captain of the Gerudo warriors, who's both grateful and impressed by Zelda's skills. Dona, intrigued by Zelda's rift-fixing abilities, explains the dire situation in the Gerudo Desert. The sanctum beneath the sand has been swallowed by a massive rift, and despite their best monster-slaying efforts, the rifts aren't shrinking. Our clever princess proposes burrowing under the sand to reach the sanctum, but there's a slight problem. The entrance is blocked for safety reasons. A bunch of monsters were coming out of the entrance, so it had to be closed in order to contain the monsters. Dona suggests speaking with the Gerudo chief to get permission to clear the entrance. As we explore the Gerudo town, we encounter a variety of colorful characters. There's Tormali, the Oasis guard on a quest for flying tiles, and a mango researcher running a Mango Rush game. Finally, we reach the Gerudo Palace, where we witness a tense discussion between Dona, Chief Sira, and Facette, the chief's advisor. It's clear that the rift situation has everyone on edge, and Zelda's offer of help is met with skepticism from Facette. Chief Sira, caught between hope and caution, is unsure whether to trust Zelda. Dona, frustrated by the lack of trust in Zelda, decides to take matters into her own hands. She asks Zelda to meet her at the Oasis, away from the skeptical eyes of the palace. At the Oasis, Dona shares some personal history. Apparently, Dona's mother is the chief and would play with her by the water, which is now a calming place that she remembers fondly from her childhood. Unfortunately, her mother was so busy with her job as chief that Facette had to step in and help train Dona. Facette was the one that trained all the soldiers as well, which is why the Gerudo are such good fighters today. Despite Dona's respect for her mother and Facette, she knows they are wrong to question Zelda's intentions. Determined to prove Zelda's abilities, Dona suggests tackling 3 smaller rifts in the desert: Southern Oasis Ruins, Ancestors' Cave Rest, and Southern Gerudo Desert. It's time for Zelda to show off her rift-fixing skills and win over the skeptics. As we set out on this new quest, we encounter some dehydrated Gerudo warriors. In true RPG fashion, it's time for a fetch quest. Zelda is tasked with obtaining a cactus smoothie from the local smoothie shop. We meet a business scrub running the smoothie shop, because apparently entrepreneurial plant people are branching out into the beverage industry. Zelda crafts a cactus smoothie, saving the day. With the warriors refreshed, we continue our exploration of the desert. Our adventure takes us to Ancestors' Cave Rest, where we find all the torches extinguished. Zelda rekindles the flames, earning the gratitude of a ghostly Gerudo ancestor. We also stumble upon secret passageways and hidden graves, because what's a Legend of Zelda game without a little tomb raiding? Afterwards, Zelda finds herself in the thick of battle, helping the Gerudo warriors fend off wave after wave of monsters. Zelda saves the soldiers from the influx of monsters, but she still hasn't closed any rifts. Despite Zelda's valiant efforts, Tri is unable to create any rift entrances. This is hindering our moment to show off our super cool abilities. Before we can figure out a way to show off, a soldier delivers some news. He tells us that it is time for us to go back to the palace and give an update. Donna, the supportive ally, suggests we report back to the palace despite not having much to report on. Maybe we should have spent less time making smoothies, whoops. Upon their return, we witness a tense confrontation between Donna, Chief Sira, and the skeptical Facette, and Zelda's abilities are definitely on trial. Donna stands firm in her belief in our girl Zelda, and she's willing to put her honor on the line. Chief Sira, moved by her daughter's conviction and a bit of desperation to save their people, decides to trust Zelda as well. What a touching mother-daughter moment. Also, the soldiers we rescued earlier now stand at our side, their weapons drawn and ready to fight for us. Despite literally everyone now on our side, Facette still believes we should be locked up. Come on, we have saved their soldiers, helped their ancestors. What more does Facette want? But just before any more tension could boil over, a soldier bursts in with dire news. A rift in the eastern desert has grown, swallowing up a bunch of warriors. Chief Sira rushes off to handle the crisis without hesitation. After some trekking, we finally reach the rift where the Gerudo warriors were taken. The rift is continually expanding and needs to be dealt with ASAP. Zelda, with Tri's help, creates an entrance into the still world. Everyone is super impressed with Zelda's abilities. We won't tell them it's our lemon friend doing all the magic. Inside, Tri senses more of their friends around, and Zelda and Tri work together to free them in order to mend the rift. Upon returning to the regular world, we witness a shocking revelation. The Facette who's been opposing Zelda all this time turns out to be an imposter. The real Facette emerges from the rift, confused and disoriented. She was apparently frozen and floating in the abyss this whole time. When confronted, the fake Facette vanishes into thin air. This Facette had a hand in all the decisions that have been made lately, from falsely guiding rift missions to burying the Sanctum entrance. She had no intention of fixing any of the rifts. Chief Sira, realizing the deception, apologizes to Zelda and grants her permission to restore the entrance to the Sanctum. It's a vindication that's been a long time coming for our heroic princess. We then learn that the entrance to the Sanctum is submerged in sand due to a plugged cave. Zelda's next mission is apparently to become a royal plumber. She pulls the plug and the sand starts draining. Finally, the entrance is revealed. Inside, there is a rift, and Tri graciously creates an entrance for us to explore. In a surprising and somewhat ghostly moment, Zelda and Tri catch a glimpse of our boy Link. Of course, we instantly follow him without question. Eventually, we catch up to Link and bam! He shoots arrows at us and fights us to the death. Zelda twirls around, avoiding any damaging blows though. The fake Link multiplies and comes at us with full force. Once Zelda defeats him, she is granted the Bow of Might, adding some ranged firepower to her arsenal. As we continue our journey, Tri drops a theory. Link, like Facette and the castle folks, might have been replaced by an imposter from the still world. After a challenging dungeon crawl and swimming in more lemons, we finally mend the last rift in the desert town. Returning to the regular world, we find the Gerudo celebrating the disappearance of the rifts. It's like a desert-wide party, complete with what we can only assume is cactus punch and sand cake. In a touching moment, Chief Sira praises Donna's growth and suggests she might be ready to become chief. Donna, being humble, insists she still has much to learn. I'm sure Chief Sira is ready to retire soon after this mayhem. Unfortunately, Zelda's father, the king, is still nowhere to be found, so on to the next large rift. Our adventure takes us east to a watery location. Here we encounter the Zora and learn about the great spirit, Lord Jabu Jabu. Apparently, he's been on a rampage since a rift appeared in his den. It seems even divine fish aren't immune to cosmic temper tantrums. We arrive at Seaside Village, where the locals are understandably on edge due to Lord Jabu Jabu's erratic behavior. We meet Chief Kashara of the Sea's Zora, who's trying to handle the crisis with a level head. Meanwhile, her counterpart, Chief Drad of the River Zora, is more interested in settling a musical feud. There has been a long-standing rivalry between the river and Sea Zora. Usually, the arguments between the chiefs are short-lived, but this time, Drad will not stand for Kashara mocking his music. We learn that to open the den, both Zora clans must perform music together. But the chiefs are too busy arguing to cooperate. As we explore the River Zora village, we encounter more worried villagers and get a glimpse into Zora culture. Chief Drad, in his infinite wisdom, decides that River Zora music alone can calm Lord Jabu Jabu. Meanwhile, Chief Kashara is equally convinced that Sea Zora music is the answer. The chief's argument reaches a peak at Crossflows Plaza, where they decide to settle their dispute with a musical showdown. In a twist that nobody saw coming, except maybe everyone, their discordant performance attracts Lord Jabu Jabu, who promptly swallows both the chief's advisors. And, of course, the two chiefs make saving their advisors a competition, too. Off to the races they go. With both advisors now residing in the belly of the beast, it's up to Zelda to save the day, again. The Zora village is in chaos. And to make matters worse, Chief Drad has been swallowed by a rift after trying to save some children. Everyone's wondering what will happen next. Tri creates a rift entrance to pursue Chief Drad, Lord Jabu Jabu, and rescue the advisors. Inside the rift, we encounter more of Tri's trapped friends. Zelda the hero sets about freeing them and mending the rift. Back on the surface, we rejoin the Zora chiefs, Drad and Kushara. They're a bit worse for wear, but their rivalry seems intact. Chief Drad is freed from the rift and is a bit embarrassed that he was swallowed by it in the first place. His friend is a bit disoriented since coming back from the rift. Chief Kushara thanks quickly and plays her music for him. This heals his mind, and now Chief Drad owes her for bringing his friend back to reality. The plot thickens as we discover that Lord Jabu Jabu has headed south, straight for the sea. On our way there, Zelda encounters a touching scene where Chief Kushara has rushed into a cave to save a child, only to be trapped by falling rubble. Zelda doesn't flinch, though. She manages to swim past all the monsters to help Kushara. But it's not Zelda who saves her. Chief Drad breaks through the rubble and discovers Kushara with the child. Again, this child is also distraught and needs help snapping back to reality. Without hesitation, Drad plays his music to help the child. In a surprising turn of events, Chiefs Drad and Kushara start to see eye to eye. They even compliment each other's musical performances. The chiefs agree to put aside their squabbles and work together to find Lord Jabu Jabu. It's a beautiful moment of unity, proving that sometimes it just takes a rampaging deity to bring people together. To open the den, both Zora clans must perform music together on special altars. But there's another problem. The altars are covered in rubble. But no matter, as Zelda, Drad, and Kushara work together to clear the rubble and perform the music to open the den. Finally, the moment we have all been waiting for, the performance of a lifetime. Upon entering the den, we discover that the Lord Jabu Jabu we've been chasing is actually an imposter from a rift. Zelda faces off against the fakester in an epic battle. After defeating the imposter, it vanishes and the advisors that were eaten are released. Zelda then enters a rift that's been consuming the den in order to rescue the real Lord Jabu Jabu. After saving more of Tri's friends, Zelda fixes the rift, restoring the den. Upon returning to the regular world, Zelda is hailed as a hero by the Zora. Chiefs Drad and Kushara have newfound respect for each other, realizing they're more alike than different. It's a heartwarming moment of growth and understanding. And who knows, maybe there's even a little romance in the cards for them. Anyway, afterwards, the real Lord Jabu Jabu returns to Crossflow's Plaza, much to everyone's relief. As Zelda prepares to leave the Zora domain, she encounters General Wright, who is lost at sea. While Zelda's been busy with underwater adventures, the rest of Hyrule is still in turmoil. We return to Luberry's home, where Minister Left is waiting. They discuss the remaining large rift in Hyrule Castle, which is where the king and Link must be. General Wright, in his eagerness to expose the imposters in the castle, rushes off before the others can finish their discussion. Back at Hyrule Castle Town, we arrive with the real General Wright and Minister Left, who are now being mistaken for imposters. The fake king set up a password system to enter the castle, which we obviously don't know. The situation escalates as the rift expands rapidly and monsters begin to appear in Castletown. General Wright immediately starts organizing the soldiers to protect the citizens. It's a moment that showcases his leadership, even in the face of doubt and chaos. Zelda and her companions make their way to an underground area beneath the town, searching for a place to create a rift entrance. As we explore the rift, Zelda faces off against the evil version of her father, the king. The fake king transforms into a blue monster, Ganon, the same one Link defeated at the start of the game. A fierce battle ensues with Zelda using all of her skills to defeat Ganon's creation. Our girl manages to take the fierce creature down. It's the culmination of her journey, showcasing how far she's come from the princess who needed rescuing at the start of our adventure. Once Ganon is defeated and more of Tri's friends are saved, the rift is finally fixed. But the plot thickens as we learn that the blue monster Zelda defeated was actually an echo of Ganon. This revelation leads to more questions than answers, leaving our heroes scratching their heads. Right before we can go back to our world and reunite with Zelda's dad, a dark cloud bursts through the wall. Link suddenly appears to fight the cloud off for us. But before Link can run in for what could have been a hug, he is zapped into a crystal and taken away. We finally return to our world and we're treated to a heartwarming reunion as Zelda's father, the real king, is finally rescued from the rift. And there is a lot of confusion within the castle to clear up since the fake king was spreading lies this whole time. Zelda's father is thankful for his daughter's strength and perseverance though, which is what ultimately saved him from the rift. After all this rift fixing, Zelda decides to take a nap. But she's rudely interrupted by loudmouth Grandma Imp chatting it up with Tri. After our ever so short nap, we're whisked away to a strategy meeting in the throne room, where the king, Impa, and our heroes discuss the next steps. Just when we thought that all the rifts have been dealt with, we come to find out that more rifts are appearing. The group theorizes that based on the locations of the new rifts, there is likely a connection between the rifts and prime energy, the mysterious power left behind by the goddesses. This means we need to find 3 rifts connected to the 3 goddesses. This is no accident, but a deliberate choice for whoever created the rifts. The enemy that trapped the goddesses in the rifts did this as an attempt to obtain the prime energy for themselves. We learn about a legend involving a wise priestess and a courageous hero who appear when evil threatens the prime energy. In another plot twist that surprises absolutely no one, it turns out Zelda is the priestess and Link is the hero. Zelda is thus tasked with mending 3 more rifts in regions connected to the goddesses: Elden Volcano, Faron Wetlands, and Holy Mount Lanayru. Our princess gets a new hairstyle and wardrobe upgrade, receiving ancestral robes passed down through generations. Because when you're saving the world, you've got to look the part. And so our adventure takes us to the frigid Hebra Mountain. In the midst of a snowstorm, Zelda meets Conde, a friendly mountain dweller who offers shelter. He waits back home with his dad while his big brother is out on an adventure in the Holy Mount. In the meantime, he is dedicated to cleaning the mountain. It's heartwarming to see such devotion, even if we're not entirely sure why a mountain needs such thorough cleaning. His home is filled with oversized cleaning tools and a touching picture he made himself. As the storm clears, Conde heads out to clean the mountain, inviting Zelda and Tri to explore the peak where his brother launched his balloon. It's time for some high-altitude adventuring. There, our heroes encounter a dark gunk that Conde is trying to clean. In a moment of cosmic irony, Zelda realizes it's actually a rift. Poor Conde has been trying to scrub away an interdimensional tear with elbow grease and determination. Zelda creates a rift entrance, ready to dive into another cosmic cleanup mission. Inside the rift, Zelda works tirelessly to rescue Tri's trapped friends. And just like that, the rift is fixed. After mending the rift and returning to the regular world, we rejoin Conde on his quest to clean the mountain. He believes his cleaning efforts are the cause of the gunk disappearing. We'll let the poor guy believe what he needs to in order to cope. Conde sees his brother and chases after him. His big brother keeps avoiding him though, leaving Conde feeling abandoned. At this point, we realize his father might be dead, since Conde tells us he has become a star in the sky. He even believes that his brother is avoiding him because he hasn't been good, despite trying so hard to be perfect. Poor little guy. Zelda finds the rift in the mountain with footprints leading up to it, which are the big brother's prints. Our heroes continue through the rift and stumble upon a touching drawing left by Conde's brother, revealing his plans for adventure and his love for his family. It's a bittersweet moment that reveals how the brother really feels about Conde. He wasn't trying to run from him after all. Zelda and Tri follow the footprints and finally discover what seems like the brother at first glance, but is actually a monster named Scorchill. Thankfully, our girl is fully equipped to deal with him. Defeating Scorchill released Tri's friends that have been trapped in this rift. At long last, in a moment of divine intervention, the goddess Nehru herself appears and grants Zelda her sanction. Zelda's wisdom as the priestess freed the land that was swallowed by nothingness. That's one down to access the prime energy, with 2 more sanctions to go. Before we head off to the next rift though, Tri tells our dear friend Conde about his brother's desire to take him on future adventures. Thankfully, this lifts Conde's spirits since he has been so pitiful. He even runs off singing and dancing. Afterwards, our adventure takes us to Elden Volcano, where we meet the Gorons and hear about their newly appointed chief, Darstan, who's missing. Apparently, just as poor Darstan was appointed as the new chief, he was swallowed by a rift. and it's now our job to rescue him. Zelda jumps right in to help the Gorons with their rift problem. She does her thing, dives into the rift head first, frees Tri's friends, and fixes the rift. The Gorons are happy that the large rift is finally gone. And what do you know? Chief Darstan made it out with his man bun and everything. But unfortunately, we are still missing two important Gorons, Elder Goal and Elder Sylve. Afterwards, we're introduced to the concept of nuggets of wisdom, Darstan's father's leadership advice that he relies on perhaps a bit too heavily. He carries them around like they're the 10 Commandments. We witness Darstan struggle with self-doubt, comparing himself to his father and feeling inadequate. But Tri interrupts his pity party and gets straight to business, asking Darstan about the large rift nearby. We need to figure out the shortcut to the rift, and we are told the elders might know about it. Zelda and Tri help Darstan rescue Elder Goal from Rock Roast Quarry. They are hungry, so Zelda feeds them some yummy rock roast. This helps him feel rejuvenated, but Elder Goal doesn't know about the shortcut. Darn it! So we set off and find Elder Sylve in the Lizalfos burrow. He is sitting in his infamous defensive position because there are dark Lizalfos all around. Zelda gets to work and fights them off. Darstan even shows off some of his thumping skills to help with the enemies. Unfortunately, Elder Sylve is just as unhelpful as Elder Goal was when it comes to the shortcut. On the bright side, everyone is seeing how resourceful Chief Darstan is through these saving missions. The Gorons are coming around to the idea of Darstan being the new chief in town, and his confidence is finally growing. The elders might not know where the mysterious shortcut to the crater and rift is, but Chief Darstan starts to think really hard. And he realizes the shortcut is connected to the Goron chiefs. And what do you know? He is the chief and knows the answer. Guess he's as bright as a rock after all. As our heroes search for the shortcut, we meet Chief Darstan in his quarters. He shows us a large stone picture of his father. His father hopes one day Darstan will replace the picture with one of himself now that he is the new chief. But Darstan misses his dad and memorializes him here. Poor Darstan wants to keep the picture of his father forever, but that is until Tri and Zelda get their hands on it, of course. Together, they pull out two big pins holding the picture up against the wall. Before you know it, the father's picture slams down and shatters. Finally, the nuggets of wisdom are used to our advantage because number 34 states, a breakdown can lead to a breakthrough. Darstan even laughs at the fact we discovered a pathway behind the picture. As we all traverse the Elden volcano, Darstan grows into himself, leaving behind his obsessive grasp on his father. He decides it's time to get more creative with his abilities. He uses the slate that has the nuggets of wisdom on it as a tool. He lodges it in a boulder and slams it into pieces, revealing a new path forward, figuratively and literally. He leads us to the rift and we jump right in, leaving Darstan in the real world since he can't handle all the rift diving. In the rift, we encounter evil purple Link again. And this time he is tossing bombs at our face. We also fight a fire dragon named Volvadia. After we defeat it, Tri's friends begin to rain down. This means the rift is fixed and disappearing from the volcano. Finally, our world turns white around us and down comes the second goddess, Din. Zelda receives Din's sanction, marking another step towards accessing the prime energy. That's 2 down, with just 1 more to go. Din gives us a little story time. We learn the name of the true villain behind the rifts, and it's just as ominous as you'd expect. Null! It turns out Null consumed everything in the world back when it was just nothingness. That's when the 3 goddesses took over and created the skies and the lands. This was supposed to contain Null, but it had other plans, creating the rifts in an attempt to turn the world back into a void. To counter this evil plan, the goddesses created Tri's friends, hoping they would be able to dissipate the rifts. Now with the Elden volcano rift mended and our friend Tri understanding their existence more, we bid farewell to Darstan and the Gorons. It's a bittersweet moment, watching a new leader come into his own. Next, our adventure takes us to the Farron Wetlands, where we encounter a whole new set of challenges and a lot of very sticky Deku scrubs. Our girl Zelda finds herself fixing little rifts around the wetlands in order to bargain with the locals. The large rift is in a store called Sweet Spot, and to get in we need a membership card. Conveniently, we find a Deku scrub named Blossu, who just happens to have such a membership card. And conveniently for us, Blossu's home is being overrun by a smaller rift. Zelda has just the plan, fix the rift and have Blossu give her the card. Easy peasy. Well, not quite. This plan would have worked, but Zelda inadvertently destroyed the thorns, which means no more webs for the Deku scrub. Webs are a cotton candy delicacy for them, so this is the ultimate tragedy. It's worse than the rifts taking over their town. Zelda finds herself thrown in jail for this offense and all her belongings are taken away. Her tri-rod is now nothing more than a cotton candy stick for the scrubs. What a disrespect. After testing out the tri-rod as a cotton candy stick, though, the Deku Scrub realizes it's not all it's cracked out to be. So they give it back to Zelda once she breaks out of jail. But right when we feel freedom, the guards throw Zelda back in jail. We did it once, so we'll do it again. After some intense jailbreaking, we make it out and run into Blosu, who is happy that we got rid of the thorns and released his house from the rift. Our original plan finally works, and he gives us their membership card. At the sweet spot, Zelda flashes her membership card and gains access inside, where Deku Scrubs are spinning cotton candy. They are so addicted to the sweet treat, they don't even notice a rift expanding right before their shrubby eyes. So before they can react, they are consumed by it. We get in, and inside the rift, we fight the mega cotton candy spider Goma. After Zelda defeats it, Tri's friends are freed and rain down. The rift is fixed and the Faron Wetlands is restored. Yay! We are then consumed by a white world and Faroa presents herself. And she gives Zelda her sanction. That's 3 for 3 on the divine approval scale. Our princess is on a roll. With all 3 sanctions secured, Zelda learns of the ancient forest guarded by the sacred tree. We must go there to open the path to the prime energy. Zelda is hoping to find our dear old friend Link there as well. So we say goodbye to the Deku Scrubs, and they finally decide to lay off all the cotton candy sugar and switch their diet over to smoothies. We'll see how long that lasts. Before we can leave the wetlands, there is a twist. Null itself makes an appearance. It shows up as a glowing purple cloud and swallows up Zelda. We are then spit out and find ourselves unconscious on the ground. We learn that Null has created an echo of Zelda and is basically embodying her in order to obtain the prime energy. Our girl Zelda makes her way to the Eternal Forest, where we're introduced to the Great Deku Tree. This is the ancient guardian of the forest, and it seems Zelda's echo has been causing mischief around the forest. She apparently tricked the Great Deku Tree into letting her beneath the surface where the prime energy is held. Now that the real Zelda has arrived, though, the tree gives us access to the area below too. We find the Echo Zelda approaching the altar, ready to accept the prime energy. As she approaches, she tells us the story of what happened long ago. She explains that before time itself existed, the void of nothingness was Null's domain, a place of non-existence that suited its nature. This was a place of peace for Null. The 3 goddesses created the world, bringing form and life where there was once only void. This act of creation was in direct opposition to Null's nature. Null, desiring to return everything to nothingness, began consuming all life, threatening the very existence of the world the goddesses had created. In response, the goddesses created the prime energy, a powerful force designed to contain Null and protect their creation. The prime energy serves as a barrier, keeping Null at bay and preserving the world of Hyrule. Essentially, Null sees an opportunity to return everything to its preferred state of nothingness. He wants to hit the universal reset button, erasing all of existence. Zelda's Echo, believing itself to be the real deal, is determined to gather all the prime energy for itself. Right as she reaches for the prime energy, though, it bursts into 3 pieces. 1 piece absorbs into the real Zelda, 1 into the fake Echo Zelda, and 1 flies through a rift. Both Zeldas jump through the energy portal without hesitation. We need to follow the Echo in order to get both pieces back. Inside, Zelda Echo finds Link, who's still stuck in the crystal right before we can. We learn that the 3rd prime energy piece was sent to Link, since he is of course the hero in the legend that the goddesses told. Zelda fights the sassy little Echo Princess so she can rescue her hero. Once she is defeated, she runs off with the prime energy piece. It's time for our priestess in shining armor to finally save Link. Once we reach him, the real Zelda ironically uses Link's abilities to break the crystal he is stuck inside of. Well, she cracks it, but still makes him put some elbow grease into it to save himself. She tried. In a touching moment of teamwork, Zelda returns Link's weapons to him. They are reunited and ready to take on Null together. Ah, the universe strikes again with these 2. But it turns out the only way to truly defeat the enemy is to fight from within. As our heroes make their way into Null's body, we find the fake Zelda Echo and Null. But in a twist, Null chomps up the Zelda Echo to consume the prime energy piece she has. It's ready to reset the world back to the void it once was. We witness the true scope of its power right before our eyes. Null embraces the power and creates massive rifts, tearing apart the very fabric of reality. Towns are being pulled into the void, and the situation is getting worse by the second. Despite creating rifts and voids, Null wants everything to be his. And so it goes after Zelda and Link's prime energy pieces. During the battle, Null sucks the two deeper through its body. This leads us into Tri's prison, where thousands of little Tri-friends are being held in Null's glands until it's ready to consume them. It appears Null gains power from consuming them and fends off its imprisonment by eliminating the very things that have the power to dissipate the rifts. But our heroes don't care. They are so in tune with each other throughout the fight, they work tirelessly to take down Null. After an epic showdown, our heroes emerge victorious. Null is defeated, we get one last lemon rain, and the rifts begin to disappear. Tri and friends restore the world back to the bright and happy place it should be. In the aftermath of the battle, now that Tri and its friends healed the injured world, they are ready to go back to the goddesses. With Null gone, there's no need for them anymore. It's a bittersweet moment, realizing that our floating companion's time with us is coming to an end. Tri expresses its gratitude and fondness for Zelda, and in a heartwarming cutscene, we see that gratitude is a new emotion that Tri learned from Grandma Imp. So now he gets to share it with Zelda. They share a cute moment of hand-holding before Tri floats off. Farewell, little ghost lemon fishy friend. Zelda and Link reunite, and while not as cute as Tri and Zelda's moment, I'll take it. The townspeople, grandparent imps, and Zelda's dad, the king, are all overjoyed that they have saved the world and returned safely. Zelda frames her Tri-Rod and hangs it on her bedroom wall. This commemorates the bond she shared with Tri and her growth throughout their journey. In the end, Zelda has proven herself a true hero. Link has once again risen to the challenge, and together they've written a new chapter in the endless legend of Hyrule. The Legend of Zelda continues, and somewhere out there, a new adventure is waiting to begin. But for now, we can rest easy, knowing that thanks to our heroes' efforts, there's still a Hyrule to save. Okay, with the story wrapped up, let's analyze the game's story, beginning with our girl Zelda. In The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, we witness Princess Zelda's transformation from damsel in distress to the hero of her own story. As mysterious rifts begin tearing Hyrule apart, Zelda finds herself thrust into an adventure that will test not just her courage, but her wisdom and creativity as well. Our journey begins with a twist on the familiar Zelda formula. Link rescues the princess from Ganon, only to be sucked into a mysterious rift himself. Suddenly, it's up to Zelda to save the day. Armed with the magical Tri-Rod, gifted by her new companion Tri, a floating lemon-like creature, Zelda sets out to close the rifts and uncover the truth behind their appearance. The Tri-Rod allows Zelda to create echoes, copies of objects and creatures she encounters. This ability becomes central to her problem-solving approach. Need to cross a gap? Why not create a bridge out of beds? Facing a tough enemy? Why not summon an even tougher one to fight on your behalf? As Zelda masters these abilities, we see her confidence grow. She's no longer just a princess waiting to be rescued, she's Hyrule's protector. Her relationship with Tri is crucial to her development as well. More than just a guide, Tri serves as a connection to greater powers, helping Zelda tap into abilities beyond mortal understanding. Their bond deepens throughout the journey, culminating in a touching farewell scene where Tri expresses gratitude, an emotion it learned throughout its own journey. While Link isn't the main playable character this time, his role remains significant. His absence drives the plot initially, and his eventual rescue by Zelda inverts their traditional dynamic. When they reunite for the final battle against Null, their teamwork showcases the power of their partnership. Throughout her journey, Zelda also interacts with various races of Hyrule, from the Gerudo in the desert to the Zora in their watery domain. These encounters often involve resolving conflicts and misunderstandings, reinforcing the theme of unity in diversity. For instance, Zelda helps the feuding Sea and River Zora chiefs put aside their differences to save their people from a rampaging and fake Lord Jabu Jabu. The game's use of imagery brings the conflict to life visually. As Null's influence spreads, familiar locations in Hyrule become twisted and warped. The contrast between the vibrant living Hyrule and the frozen, timeless still world within the rifts provides a representation of what's at stake. The conflict in Echoes of Wisdom operates on multiple levels. On the surface, Zelda must close rifts and prevent Null from consuming all of reality. But internally, she grapples with her identity and purpose as she steps into the role of hero. This struggle culminates in a battle against a false version of herself created by Null, a literal confrontation with her own doubts and fears. Null, the main antagonist, adds philosophical depth to the conflict. We learn that before the creation of Hyrule, Null existed in a void of nothingness, a state it perceived as peace. The creation of the world by the goddesses disrupted this peace, leading Null to seek a return to non-existence. Interestingly, both Null and Zelda claim to pursue peace, albeit with radically different visions. Null's concept of peace as absolute nothingness stands in stark opposition to Zelda's ideal of a thriving, interconnected world. This raises a question: who has the authority to judge which form of peace is more valid or correct? This motivation challenges players to consider the nature of peace and existence itself. The resolution of the conflict comes not through brute force, but through unity and creative problem-solving. In the final battle, Zelda and Link work together, combining their strengths to overcome Null. This emphasizes a central theme of the game: the power of cooperation and wisdom in facing cosmic threats. In the end, Zelda proves herself a true hero, not just by defeating Null, but by growing into her role as Hyrule's protector. She learns that true harmony comes not from stillness or the absence of conflict, but from constant creation and adaptation. As Zelda hangs the Tri-Rod on her wall at the journey's end, it serves as a fitting symbol of her growth, the friendships she's forged, and the lessons she's learned. The Legend of Zelda continues, with our princess now firmly established as a hero in her own right, ready for whatever new adventures await. And that's a wrap on the complete story of The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Zelda's latest adventure, be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe if you loved it. And let me know in the comments what you thought about Zelda's journey and which part of the story was your favorite. Until next time, friends!